What's a far-fetched story someone told you that turned out to be true? My great-grandfather supposedly hid a truck full of Al Capone's booze when it broke down around the corner from his speakeasy. The driver abandoned the truck for fear of getting caught by the police. Great-grandpa and some regulars pushed it to a garage down the street. A representative turned up a couple days later and paid him for the trouble. I assumed this was just family legend until we dug a thank you note from the man himself out of an old trunk in the attic. The note has since been authenticated and will hopefully provide a chunk of my daughter's college fund. The dingoes took the baby. In high school in the 90s, a kid who was very socially awkward said he had a girlfriend in Canada. Everyone was floored when she showed up at opening night to support him in the spring play, and she was pretty and seemed normal. He did come out after high school, which was less of a surprise. I found the site that told people if they had unclaimed funds. I checked out a few states and saw that I was owed like $28. Being the nice guy that I am, I told other co-workers. Some had nothing, some had varying degrees of cash waiting for them, nothing too crazy. I approached one co-worker and asked her if she got anything, and she said matter-of-factly, "Yeah, 30,000. I thought she was kidding. I was especially lost because she never told me until I asked. She showed me the proof, and I was shocked. Turns out her husband and his siblings didn't know about the life insurance policy from their mother who passed. This old lady approached me in the grocery store and told her crazy life story of escaping the Soviet Union and having to sleep in trees to hide from wolves in Siberia during her escape. She eventually made her way to Europe, and then America, where she fell in league with famous artists like Jackson Pollock and Andy Warhol and did art with them. She told me she painted portraits for a living and how she had done it for so long she could pinpoint anyone's ethnic background and heritage. She then told me she stopped me to talk because she liked the way I looked and then guessed where my family was from, French and Irish. It was dead on, and she went to explain how my nose, eyes, and the way I held my shoulders gave it away. Super fascinating. Never got proof that her entire story was true, but I figured if she could so accurately guess my heritage, then something had to be true. Thought it was super cool, because to me, I look just like any other brunette white American. Lol. Old lady at a dinner party my grandmom was throwing. Said she used to be Houdini's assistant. Turns out, no lie. I wish I'd believed her at the time because I would have been way more engaged. A guy I met claimed to be a former MACVSOD guy, and that had robbed banks. I thought it was just an old man telling stories, but he had the old newspaper clippings of his bank robberies and arrests. His Vietnam stories would straight up ruin your fucking day too, so even though I have no proof of him being SOD, I believe him on that. Guy was a legit psychopath. I live in Las Vegas, about 20 minutes north of the Strip. My mom's church friend was an OG showgirl. She spent like a decade doing 2 shows a day, sitting next to the Rat Pack, chilling with the mob who started Vegas. She has some amazing stories. She still performs. She sings at our Italian-American club on a regular basis. My friend told us that her grandfather used to be an ambassador for the UN and has been taken captive multiple times in various countries and held at ransom. Left him with a bipolar disorder that he's been on lithium tablets for decades. It's poisoned him. But it would be worse now to take him off them than just let him carry on. He's like 90, so there's little point. I thought she was talking shit or exaggerating until I met him. It's all true, and he is the coolest yet craziest old man I've ever met. Well, until he said the North Koreans can't be that bad. They served me incredible chicken back in the day. My late grandmother had a pet monkey as a child. I met somebody who had worked with this guy and told me about it. Physics prof got catfished, smuggled drugs, ends up in jail in Argentina. Häagen-Dazs doesn't mean anything. It's made up words. Edit. I at first hearing the true story that inspired Herman Melville to write Moby Dick first didn't believe it because I thought that Melville was just inspired by his adventures at sea. After reading In the Heart of the Sea the tragedy of the whale ship Essex and the loss of the ship Essex sunk by a whale first-person accounts, I never look at Moby the same way again whenever I reread it. My friend was the result of a maid and a rich Asian man. She told me her father's family didn't like that fact and she wanted to take my friend away so she wouldn't have a relationship with her mother, and it turns out that my friend's mother did too. She worked for a very famous lawyer in her city who helped her have custody of her. I'm just gonna throw this out there. I've experienced some really unbelievable stuff in my youth. Stories that just made my and adult friends kinda roll their eyes. By chance, my teenage best friend got out of prison and wanted to stop by. It had been 15 years or so. We talked and had a few laughs. Started BS about old times. I looked at my and told her to confirm and ask for details while I went outside for a bit. He came out first and was like, "Dude, we were a bit nuts." We had another beer, and he left. My so is still sitting on the couch and looking perplexed. She hugged me tight. She said it was like her big fish moment. The world is full of liars. I consider myself an honest fisherman. There are people who go out and truly live. Who chases the lightning and hollers back at the thunder. That Santa Claus isn't real. Eccentric old men mowed our lawn regularly for modest pay. Told me all kinds of botchet stuff like how he had a knife fight with Ted Bundy. Then he told me about a house nearby that was dealing drugs to middle school kids. He claimed Head called the police and they told him he was right. He was super proud. I thought sure thing, old timer, because he said the same thing about writing Bill Clinton to intervene in Bosnia and then he did. But then I saw the news that the cops raided a drug house selling to middle school kids. So I dunno, maybe he did have a knife fight with Ted Bundy. A few years later he ran for mayor. There was a kid in my grade school years ago. So we were probably what, 9, 10? I was friends with him, but he had a habit of telling from my perspective very tall tales. Things he claimed he did, people he claimed to meet. It didn't help that his parents seemed to be very well off, while mine were poorer, so that might have contributed to some of my skepticism. That and the fact that he rarely had proof of said action. It was always just trust me. One of the things he said was that he went to Disney World, which was true. He was out of class for it, and he got like every Disney character to sign an autograph. But no, he didn't have proof, because the teacher threw that all away by accident, thinking the sheets of paper were garbage. How convenient. A super eye-roll worthy story. Why not just say you went to Disney World and talk about that? No need to say you got every character's autograph there. Fast forward a month or two, and the teacher, upon entering class, calls him forward. She apologized for throwing away all those autographs, and said that she contacted Disney World to ask if they could help. She presented him with a proper book of characters, each one signed by the characters from Disney World. Fuck, he was telling the truth. God damn it. My grandpop is a famous boxer, story from my mother. Until I saw that old picture of grandpop from Aunt, and yes, he's really a boxer, but I still don't know if he's really famous.